We as humans, we have a tendency to overthink. We try to overanalyze, do too much, worry, concern, try to balance. And whenever we take a look at ourselves, we'll never measure up to our own expectations. So if you can imagine taking that kind of high stress that we as human beings place on ourselves, and of course there's such a collective stress that, to do more, be the best at, and then we bring that high stress into our businesses, well, already we've created like a pressure cooker situation where it's not allowing us to be as productive, as healthy, and emotionally healthy as we can, which then, of course, improves the emotional health of our businesses.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a terrific one. Our guest is an emotional healing specialist who helps entrepreneurs shift their emotional health incrementally every day so that they can focus on growing their business and improving their lives. Jennifer Blake, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much, Michael. It is my absolute pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your time. And I'm so excited about this episode to really help our listeners shift incrementally every day. Sounds exciting. But before we get into all of that, Jennifer, please tell us a little bit about you and what brought you to being Jennifer Blake today.
Thank you, Michael. Well, my backstory is I've always wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And so ever since I was a child, I began helping, facilitating, presenting, doing workshops. And in fact, at 14, I was volunteering and creating workshops for youth that are still actually running here in Ottawa at the YMCA today. So my desire and my goal to help people incrementally shifting their lives, I didn't know it in that kind of mature language at the time, but my heart was always in it. So then I moved into a venture of helping people in the employment realm and doing career counseling and doing workshops that took me right across Canada and North America doing presentations. And in that time, I took a program called the Hoffman Process that literally shifted my life and at a very, very deep, profound level. And so what I ended up doing was finding that this was going to be my path. So 20 years ago, I took the Hoffman Process. 17 years ago, I became a Hoffman teacher. And for the last 17 years, I have worked in the emotional healing area. I've worked with thousands of people and helped them at the most profound and deep levels in their lives, coming through trauma, coming into happiness, joy, and relief. And through that, I really realized that I loved working with entrepreneurs because I myself am one, my husband is one, my parents were one, and I truly understand the piece, the stresses, the balance that goes into working on your own, possibly working from your home, managing and balancing a life. I have 3 children, 3 beautiful boys, 10, 7, and 4, that keep me very busy. And throughout all of this, on my journey, I realized that, you know what, it's actually the incremental shifts, the pieces that I can act every single day in my choices that make the large difference. And so recently I have relaunched Blake Consulting, and I am out helping entrepreneurs, helping people shift and make these changes in their life that is simple, real, and doable.
Absolutely love it. And of course, this is where I really got to know you. I was one of your students in the Hoffman Process, and I concur. A wonderful program, changed my life for the better. I fell in love with myself, and I fell in love with the people around me, and it just enriched my life. So thank you for that. And it's so wonderful to see you now helping people on a much grander scale and entrepreneurs, because anybody who's helping entrepreneurs are friends of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast, and all of our audience absolutely tipping their hat for you as well, Jennifer. And, what I love about this topic is that business isn't really that complicated. It's the humans that complicate it.
Well said.
Right? And so anything we can do to take out the complication of being a human being, I think it's just going to make business so much more fun.
Well, and that really is the piece. I think what you're talking about is even the nature of how I help people in the coaching and the programs that I facilitate and the retreats that I facilitate is let's keep it simple. We as humans, we have a tendency to overthink. We try to overanalyze, do too much, worry, concern, try to balance. And whenever we take a look at ourselves, we'll never measure up to our own expectations. So if you can imagine taking that kind of high stress that we as human beings place on ourselves, and of course there's such a collective stress that, to do more, be the best at, and then we bring that high stress into our businesses, well, already we've created like a pressure cooker situation where it's not allowing us to be as productive, as healthy, and emotionally healthy as we can, which then, of course, improves the emotional health of our businesses.
Yeah, I like to call it the magic. It's when there's places in business when all of that stress and it's let go, that the magic of business and really the magic of life can actually kick in. And it's like, wow, that's cool. That just happened. How did that happen? I don't know. It almost like magic, right? When we're all bound up and worried and stressed, there's no opportunity for creativity. There's no opportunity for the real powerful, massive, exponential multiplier effects of our wonderful brain that we have here waiting for us to use. That's why I think so many people are walking around stressed and caught up in just the daily grind of life.
And that's what we see. For years and years, if you remember, I was sharing that I worked in the employment-related field, and there was this theme that we could separate. Okay, and also I have a background in psychology, so I have 2 degrees in neuropsychology, 1 in kinesiology, so I know the mind and the body very well. And there was a theory a long time ago that said that we could separate. And there was all these meditations you could do when you stepped out of your job. You could sort of unzip your suit and then step into your role at home or in your extracurricular life. And yet, unfortunately, that theory does not hold as well as it should, because we are one. We are absolutely one. And that magic that you're talking about, Michael, is very possible. But it starts on the inner level, right? We can't expect it to be there in the outside world, meaning in our life, our work, our jobs, our family, if we are not cultivating it on the inside first. So it's really quite a simple step to start there, but it literally all comes back to you. And with the focus being back on yourself, you know yourself better than anyone else. So actually, you already know what to do with yourself. But it's through support and podcasts like yours, Michael, and your programs and the ways that people can seek the support of others that helps us realize, oh, yes, I do have the answers in here, but how do I find them? How do I do this on a daily basis? How do I get through, like you said, all of the noise out there to find the magic that has always been there? You're born with it. You have it. Our bodies are innately programmed to heal. Our bodies are innately programmed to have that magic. It's just uncovering how we can actually get there.
And I think we've talked a lot on this podcast about doing it alone and how really detrimental that is to anyone's success, whatever their journey to success or journey of success, in that doing it alone, that second set of eyes, whether it be someone like you who's helping somebody identify, it's like someone could be stressed and not know why. And it could be if with one person having a conversation with you could identify quickly that it's actually not that, it's something else. It's not about I remember one of my favorite books that I read was by Lance Armstrong. It was called "It's Not About the Bike," right? The bike isn't what had him win those races. Now, I read this before all the drug stuff, but the point is that often in life, it's not about what we think it's about. It's about something else. And so a set of eyes like yours and the work that you do helps bring that additional set of eyes and identify things that just aren't there in your perspective.
And I love what you just shared. I love what you just shared there, Michael, because, I have this saying that says, understanding the why is important. Understanding the what is better. And understanding the how helps us take action. So those are common questions, right? It's as a child, when we process emotions, you ask a child why they're feeling some way, they have no idea. But for us as adults, as entrepreneurs in the work field, why is important. But we don't have to stay there. And the what is important, and we don't have to stay there either. But the how can I now, understanding where I am, why I got here, but most importantly, how I can shift out of this, that's where the action takes place. And so often we get caught up in the why. Or we can take a look and say, well, why aren't I being more productive? Why is, so-and-so doing better than me? Or what is happening that I'm not able to move this next level in my business? But it's until the how comes along that we can then say, okay, thank you for that valuable information. Our brain needs it, and we could spend a whole other podcast just on the brain, Michael, but our brain needs that to be able to safely, securely say, okay, I understand. I'm going to settle down now. I'm going to settle into a place where, yes, I'm ready to take action. And that action is often what I find then propels people to take those next steps in their business, to find the place to create, and also, which is really important, to enjoy themselves. Because really, why would we do something if it's not enjoyable? Remember when I said that the body is innately programmed to heal? The body is innately programmed to feel joy. Joy is a higher energy than any other kind of emotion. So we will, if we're in that place of joy, if we're enjoying what we do, and I'm sure everyone who's listening today can remember the times when you sat down to work or to complete your next task, and you weren't in a place of joy. Was it easier? Did it have more flow? Did it end up being more productive? Were you more efficient? And my guess would be, if you could all listen and if you could all answer at this time, that the answer would be yes. So it's also about finding that joy and bringing the joy into those magic moments. And that magic and the joy together, you're unstoppable.
Mm. Well, that's one of the aims of this podcast, is to help our listeners build businesses that they love, whatever size business they want. But one of the flags, or one of the key performance indicators, if you will, is I love my business. I love what I do. And so the work that you're doing really is opening a door to having more of that. And what I want to say as well, just in listening to you, it occurs to me is this set state. I've recently, well, it wasn't that recent, but it was a couple of months ago, I went and I had a shoulder problem and I needed to get it worked on. I tried all these different things and it was painful. And finally, I went to this massage therapist who worked on the problem and fixed the problem. And it was a muscular problem. I have no idea what, but he did what he did and it fixed it. And I was like, wow, it's amazing. But he also did some more massage on the rest of my body. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know what the heck just happened, but I feel different, like a whole new level of relaxation that I did not know existed. And so what it was that I was walking around at a set state of pain or discomfort or uncomfortableness or whatever we would call that, and didn't know it. Like for me, it was like, oh, there's nothing wrong. But it was the shoulder that, was super pain that triggered me into this whole new level of, there's a new normal here and I like this new normal. And I think that's what's available for so many people, many of the listeners, and it's not just the listeners on this podcast. Absolutely 6 billion people on the planet, or how many ever, is a whole new level, a whole new normal of life that is a lot more easygoing, a lot more enjoyable, a lot more fun.
I'm going to agree with that, Michael. And I think what you said about your shoulder and the body is so profound. So if I could just branch off on that and add
Please
something
do.
there, because really, if you remember me saying to you earlier about that the body is innately programmed to heal, right? Now, our body, I have a saying in the first coaching session that I do that, and I have everyone write it down, that the body holds the state. Okay, what that means is our bodies will always reflect what is happening inside. Now, this is not new information, right? I mean, it's definitely, that's commonplace, we understand. But what that does is it highly attunes people, because when I work with people and we're working on the incremental shifts, it's about listening in. It's about being quiet enough to hear what is going on. And often when we have a busy business or we're growing our business and therefore there's busyness in the growing stages, then we can often just ignore our body. So actually when I'm working with people, a lot of it is listening to your body. How are you treating your body? And our body will talk to us. So just like, Michael, your body was talking to you through your shoulder. For whatever reason that happened, we may know, that's the why, the what, and the how. The fact is, what it led you to do is pay attention, get some help, and then all of a sudden feel a way that you had not felt before. Our brain also learns through contrast. And so it's really important, and I was actually just sharing this with someone that we were having our coaching call this morning, and she said, like, gosh, my life has just incrementally changed, but it's all the small pieces that make the big difference, Jen, and this is unbelievable because I've never felt this way before. And what she's really saying is that, it's just like our cells in our body, right? If you think about it, they are independent cellular, one cell at a time. They're sending a message, but together, they make up this incredible piece that we say is our physical body. Now, they each are incrementally changing and shifting every day, just like we can. It's not a big meeting that everyone has, and they call all the cells together and they have a meeting and they say, okay, go do your job today. Each one is working independently, but it makes the overall difference. Whatever happened for your shoulder, that was an incremental shift that then made a massive difference in the rest of your body, because as one group of cells shifted, so did the rest of your body. And this is exactly what people may or may not realize as they're going through and, in their daily grind or working really hard or striving to do better, is that even those small shifts that we may not see is going to increase our profitability or make a difference in the bottom line or help us get that deadline even faster, it is actually shifting. Maybe just as simple as stopping, taking a breath, and realizing that when we consume something that we're putting in our body, even what we're consuming is going to make a difference in our day, which makes a difference in our body, which makes a difference in our productivity, our well-being, our emotional health, etc. And so it's about listening. And Michael, you listened. Now, I'm also going to share that sometimes we need to get to the place of pain, in our body or in our businesses or in our family or in our relationships to be able to listen. It's part of the human journey. But also, the more you get in the pattern of listening, and that's why I work with people on a weekly basis, the more you get in the pattern of listening, then you're able to hear what your body is telling you, because you're tuned in. The more you are able to listen to what your emotions are sharing with you and understanding your emotional health, then the messages don't have to be so drastic, like a very pained shoulder, right, that can drag us down. And that is the beauty. We then can experience something, like you said, Michael, that is a new normal. And from that new normal, who wouldn't want to stay there? Who wouldn't want to create from this place? And it's not to say that we're not going to have those blips on the ups and downs, the shifts, the drops, and the peaks and the valleys, as they would say. That's part of our human journey. That's part of our human experience. Welcome to life. But it's being able to move and flow with it. And by listening and making those incremental changes every day, they're not boulders. They're just small little pebbles that make the wave. Does that make sense? Is what I'm sharing, is that helpful?
Very helpful. I like the idea that what we're doing when we're making these incremental shifts is that we're getting closer and closer to this knowledge that we have as a human being. So whatever we want to call that, but to remove the noise that's preventing us really of listening to this incredible thing that's our body, right? That is our host. That is our ship through life. And it's almost in the Western world anyways, I would assert that it's kind of like, forget about the ship. Who cares about the ship? It's like, wait a second, we're in any kind of situation we forget about the ships that get forgotten about. If you don't worry about your car, if you don't, take care of the things that get you around, guess what? They break. And so it's like, just for me anyways, in this conversation, it's like, pay attention to the vehicle that's moving around. Not only is it an awesome vehicle with all sorts of magical things that it can do for us, but it's the only one we've got.
And you know what, Michael, it's so interesting that you're sharing that, because in the coaching program that I'm working with people in, the first call, I spend 1 full hour asking them very, very detailed questions about heightening their awareness on not only, first and foremost, how are they treating their body, because the body holds the state and the energy, but also everything, because everything, and I know you've heard this before, but everything is energy. Well, that is the truth. And so I say to them very clearly, we're going to start right when you wake up, before your feet even hit the floor, and we're going to get through as much of your day as we can. Okay? In 1 hour, I have not yet successfully made it for any one of the clients that I coach to breakfast in 1 hour. So you can just imagine, Michael, how many moments we can be aware of that can make those incremental shifts in our day. But we as human beings, we just get so tuned into, okay, yes, I get up, I get dressed, I get going, I get my coffee, I get into work mode. Now how can I be productive? Well, it actually starts the minute your eyes open. That's how our day starts. That's how our productivity starts. That's how we start as entrepreneurs, but everything else that we have to balance on top of that. And so it's by listening in, not only to our body, but body is a super one to start with, and that's where we do start often. But it's our environments. It's what we listen to. It's what we ingest. It's who we talk to. It's how we talk. It's how we hold ourselves. It's how we dress. It's every piece along the way. Now, taking a look at that big picture, that would be overwhelming. That's why we do it incrementally. And that's why, for those who are listening today, even if you can take something from this podcast to say, you know what, just stop. Take a look. Where are you sitting right now? Are you driving? Are you listening to this, in a plane traveling somewhere? Is this a morning ritual for you? Are you at your desk? Just pause. Stop and look around. Take everything in for a moment. What kind of state is your desk in? How are you holding your body? How are you dressed today? What have you ingested so far? And has it been healthy? Is there outside noise and distractions? What kind of conversations did you have thus far today? And what kind of relations did you have with family members or friends or colleagues? How were those communications? How were those conversations? Everything makes an overall difference. And when we can take a look, when we can really dissect and see what those pieces are, and then we can harness it and be as joyful as we can be, as happy as we can be, as connected to our emotions and life experiences as we can be, in productive communication and healthy communication in our relationships as we can be. My gosh. Talk about a new normal, Michael. Imagine sitting down into that state. You can pour so much of yourself into your creativity. There's so much of yourself into your work, so much of yourself into your job, that you do love your job because you love yourself. That's it. That's as simple as it gets. And it can be that simple. There's a lot that can be confusing out there. And so when we boil it down, when we distill it down, we take a look, almost like we take a look under a microscope. That's when we can really see what's going on. The human body gets really simple when we look at it under a microscope. We're like, oh, we're just a whole bunch of cells. So cool. And the same thing to our days, to our productivity, and to our businesses. Step by step, with support along the way, makes it doable, real, and I love what you're going to say, Michael. The magic and joy is there.
I can see how this is already, just as you were going through that list, it's just amazing when I pay attention to some of those questions that you asked. It's like, what am I wearing? What did I eat today? It's kind of like, hey, these are all things that, why did I choose to wear what I wore today? And am I happy with my choice? It's just, and it happened in a flash of a second,
right.
In a blink of an eye. As this, it's a book that we're reading right now with my son, which is Franklin the Turtle. And I think at the beginning of everything, it's like in the blink of an eye, I can swallow 82 flies in the blink of an eye. Well, in the blink of an eye, I had all of these thoughts around, I could make a choice that's different. Now I'm happy with what I wore, but it had me think about, why did I wear it? And I wore what I'm wearing today because it reminds me to chill out, to be, chill. It's a shirt that says Everyday California. And for me, California is this like really cool, chill place. And so yet just the exercise helped me get in tune with something that I'm doing that's supporting me.
And that's the key. And again, Michael, the message, support, right? So we can do things the hard way in life. And trust me, I've tried. I have pushed many a boulder up a hill. And for those people who know me very, very well, I do have that competitive edge and competitive side as well. So sometimes I will compete with myself. But I got to tell you, there's always a point when that boulder literally flattens me. And that upward battle up that hill is just not enjoyable. And unfortunately, when I will own this, when I was so, bent on pushing that boulder up the hill, I tend to ignore all the messages of support and love from my family, from my friends, from my coaches, from people around me, because I'm so darn set on that one boulder, right? But that is one way to do life. And I've been there, and I've been there many times. And then there's that time where I can stand at the top of the hill and I can push the boulder down. And I can watch it go, and I can spend the rest of the time that I would have spent pushing it up the hill with my family and friends. And to me, just like you, Michael, you've got a beautiful son. I have 3 beautiful children and a wonderful husband and family and friends. That is my why that I wake up for every day. So if I can do things the easy way, meaning simple, enjoyable, real, and doable, like I was talking about before, then why wouldn't I choose it? And so if I can make those incremental decisions that are going to support me, like you just said, Michael, support me in my food, my body, my health, my emotional health, my physical health, my spiritual health, my mental health, and that can help me push that boulder down the hill instead of pushing it up, then I'm on board. But we don't know until we experiment. We don't know until we experience it. And once we've experienced it, and trust me, I'm a human being on my journey, Michael, and for all of you who are listening, yes, there are some times still that I stop and go, oh, right, here I am, pushing the boulder again. So it's not foolproof, right? Life is not foolproof. And so what's going to support you today, that chill out, relaxing in California shirt, may not support you as best when you're up doing a presentation, Michael, right? That's being conscious around it activates that level of support to help us be who we can, to help us be our authentic selves.
I just loved it. And I think the more that we all do these things, the more we can tackle those boulders. I've got my shirt on, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Something gets thrown at me that is coming at it from another angle, throws me off guard. It's like, but if I'm not paying attention, then I'm susceptible to just letting these boulders get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I think of all of our listeners, right? They're in their business, they're doing this work, just a little bit of this work. It's got a multiplier effect. It'll show up, it'll impact your staff, it'll impact the clients that you work with. Even just doing it yourself, whether you do anything different with them, I truly believe that the more you're in tune with yourself, the better tuning you give to others that you're around. So that's kind of the exciting part, is like the unexpected, unpredictable, extremely delicious results that can come from doing this kind of work in your life.
I was just reminded of what you shared. I recently watched Evan Almighty. Okay, so if for those listeners who remember, this came out probably about 10 years ago. Steve Carroll, and he's asked to be, basically he's asked to build an ark. Okay, become like a present time Noah. And there's a scene in the movie at the end. If you haven't seen it, don't worry, it's not ruining it. And he said, he's talking to God, essentially, and he says, but I really wanted to make a difference in this world, and he thought he was going to do it. He was going to be a politician. He's going to enact all these changes. And Morgan Freeman, who plays God, turns to him and says, well, son, you did, right? You built the ark, and the ark is the acts of random kindness. And of course, the movie is fantastic, and yes, he saves all these people, and I'm sorry to ruin it if I just did for any of your listeners who haven't seen it yet. But that's as simple as it is. We've always talked about the ripple effect, right? By you taking care of you, you are that stone that you're dropping in the water. And we have no idea how many of our ripples or our waves, our eventual waves, will impact other people. Start with your family and friends, if that's not motivation enough to do it. And then it filters into your business, into the people that you affect, into the people, your clients. Even the energy that you complete your projects makes a difference. I mean, this is that, and that's of course where the studies of quantum physics come in, and we can go down that path as well. But your energy being as high as it can, being as healthy as you can be, it does make a difference in the world. And sometimes when we sit there and we're plugging away, and as entrepreneurs, it's a lonely road. Okay. So that's why the support is so helpful. Often we can think like, am I seriously making a difference in the world by doing what I do on this scale? And the answer is yes. And that's the most beautiful piece. There are people in this world who will stand at a podium or making changes that are, globally heard. You're showing up as healthy as you can be does make a difference. And it's the small incremental changes, that's what I keep talking about here, that make the big difference. So it's not another piece of motivation that you're helping the planet by you just helping yourself. It's pretty amazing.
Gorgeous. Absolutely love it. And this is what this podcast is all about. So now I know, Jennifer, you've got an incredible resource that you have available on your website. Can you tell us a little bit about that resource and the best way to get that for our listener?
Absolutely. Well, it'll be my pleasure too. And again, I stand here just in wanting to bring value, being in service to others. So I hope if any of you have questions, you can always reach me at jennifer@blakeconsulting.ca. I'd be happy to answer them in 50 words or less, if you could put your questions in, because I do read them, and then I will respond to them. And if you go to my website, so it's blakeconsulting.ca, so www.blakeconsulting.ca, you'll find a link on there to download the free 5 incremental ways of improving your emotional health on a daily basis. So it's a gift to you. I really invite you to try it on. You can always give me your feedback in the way that it's made a difference or a shift in your life and in your business. And I would be happy to have those conversations with you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Our audience, what they do every day is help small businesses do better, grow, help take the pressures off of small business owners. So thank you so much for really giving us this time to help our audience, take care of themselves so that they can take care of the people that make our countries great.
You're my absolute pleasure, Michael. Thank you for the invitation. And for all of you who are listening, thank you for the opportunity, and thank yourselves for taking this time out today to really once again be reminded that it starts with you. And it can be simple, it can be doable, it can be real. It starts with you, and you make the difference in your world. You make the difference in yourself. And thank you for making a difference in the world that I live in with you.
Thank you, Jennifer, so much for being here.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's fabulous guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.